Good morning, I'm Simon Curran, and welcome to our Spark Labs Speaker Series. The Speaker Series is designed to give New Zealanders and New Zealand businesses practical tools, tips, inspiration, and ideas that you can use in your business tomorrow to help you get ahead and to find your edge. With this unprecedented change of technological evolution, now more than ever, the question of how does technology fit our lives is at the forefront of our mind. But rather than simply fitting in, we like to ask the question, how does technology help us belong to our lives? And to belong to our lives, well, that requires a whole nother set of questions. To belong means we need to understand, how do we live? What do we value? And how is how I live different from how you live? It also asks a different question, not just, is this inclusive, but is there someone we're excluding? Our challenge is to make sure we get the right voices at the table to ensure we can design processes that accommodate and allow and celebrate all walks of life. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you this morning two people who are working on exactly these questions. We're joined by Microsoft New Zealand's Managing Director, Vanessa Sorenson, and Cloud Solutions Architect, Peter Sook. Microsoft launched Gleam to create internal processes that recognize the role of diversity in their staff and the world in which we operate. It's part of a wider journey as a business that they're on towards more inclusive product designs that starts from ideation right the way through to the final output. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa and Peter.
Kia ora, and thank you, Spark, for having us here today to talk about something that is so near and dear to my heart, inclusivity. I want to start with sharing our mission to empower every single person and every single organisation on the planet to achieve more. This is our responsibility here in Aotearoa and globally. I want to share a story. We were very, very fortunate to have Sati Nadella come to New Zealand about 18 months ago. And he was here for a whole day, seeing our beautiful country and sharing in stories. One of his first places that he went to was St. Joseph's in Orake. And this is the photo of the school children there proudly demonstrating the Minecraft Te Reo version called Ngā Motu. Why this picture is so incredibly important to me is I'd like to introduce you to my son, Jack Sorenson. He was so proud to showcase what they had been learning and embracing our native language. It was so incredible. And that afternoon, I had a round table with Satya. And you've got to picture this. I was at Eden Park, nervous as, walking up to him, shook his hand, and I said, thank you for going to my son's school. He said, I didn't see you there. I said, no, I went as a mum. I wanted to watch my son showcase to you the incredible work we do in Aotearoa. He shook my hand. He said, I'm going to invest in New Zealand. Which brings us to the incredible investments that we are bringing. Building data centres that's going to be New Zealand's catchment to build technology here and take it to the rest of the world. Startups, new business opportunities, and imagining platforms we could never have imagined could now be built digitally with us being in this country. It is so exciting. We can't wait to showcase what stories we're creating together. But as we kick into this whole showcase story today, I just want to ground us on what the core principles look like for us here in New Zealand. We have 5 pillars that we really, really embrace and wrap around. The first is women at Microsoft. One day I want that just to be Microsoft, but we still need more females to embrace tech and STEAM subjects to step into the world of tech. Gleam, you're going to hear from Peter shortly around the work that we are doing about leaving behind our unconscious biasness and what that means in everything from product design to how we walk the talk here in New Zealand. Well-being. If ever there's a year that we need to ensure that our people feel like they can come and be their full authentic self, it is now. Accessibility. This is from everything from how we interview, employ, and embrace people with accessibility needs. This is getting bigger and bigger, and we're proud to be partnering with B-Lab on this. And Māori and Pacifica, something so near and dear to my heart. Ngā motu was just the start. We have launched Te Reo Translator in our full languages, the 67th language that Microsoft launched. So you can start putting our Te Reo out there on your presentations, your workbooks, and everything. So we are very dedicated to this. We have councils within New Zealand that are doing so much great work, and we can't wait to share with you all. But I'd love to welcome Peter, who's going to take you through more in depth around how we are embracing inclusive design to design for one, for everyone. Kia ora, and thank you.
Thank you, Spark and Vanessa, for the warm welcome. I'd like to begin by just introducing myself. I'm Peter Soukalopoulos. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft New Zealand and proud co-chair of our GLEAM Diversity and Inclusion pillar. I'd like to begin with my story. So I was born in Western Australia to Greek immigrant parents, and I identify as a gay man. My pronouns are he and him. My working career had me move to Melbourne in the early 1990s, and I focused on software development. I moved to New Zealand in 2000 and have been with my partner for almost 20 years. I have a strong connection with Greece and Northern Ireland, which is where my partner is from, and I love to cook. In New Zealand, I was fortunate to work with a startup which was very successful in high-performance computing, bringing computing to everyone. I'd like to now introduce you to the inclusive design team at Microsoft. They have been instrumental in spreading the word around inclusive design. They are a small team working to bring inclusive design to life across Microsoft via cultural change in our products and through partnerships with universities and other companies to explore how we might stretch our thinking. Their work and principles have been applied to areas across Microsoft, including Microsoft Office, Windows, Xbox, and even the Azure cloud. It's resulted in inclusive design teams across engineering at Microsoft. So why inclusive design? Well, our mission is to empower every person and every organisation on the planet to achieve more. It's the every person on the planet part of the mission that feels bold, feels big, and feels daunting. There are 7.8 billion people on Earth. That's 7.8 billion unique people. We aim to build products that the 7.8 billion people use every day, products they use to communicate with the people they love, products they use at home, at work, and in the car. When I think about people, the diversity we see in our world, each human being is unique. Have you ever wondered how many unique different types of people there are? When I think about building products and services for 7.8 billion people, 100% of the people, it feels opposite to what I learned at university, working through my computer science courses. We learned about the 80-20 rule. Does that ring a bell for anyone here? We were told to build for 80% to reach for the broadest market, and this assumes some sort of average, that there's something in the 80% that has common terms of needs, wants, and use cases. There's also the other 80-20 rule that says to focus 80% of your energy on 20% of features. Either way, we're thinking about people. There's no average 80%, and the special 20% that have a unique set of needs that we can address later. I believe this is best illustrated through an example in Todd Rose's book, The End of Average. In the early 1950s, the US Air Force found that their pilots couldn't keep control of their planes, and at worst, 17 pilots crashed in a single day. They couldn't attribute this to mechanical error or pilot error. What was going on? Well, they found that the cockpits were optimized for back in 1926, when the average was based on 140 dimensions of size and presumably based on male pilots. In the 1950s, a junior researcher, Lieutenant Daniels, measured over 4,000 pilots in the search of the average pilot using 10 dimensions. They realized that cockpits were optimized for no one. This led to an individual fit principle. The Air Force demanded that all cockpits needed to fit pilots who measured within 5 to 95% range on each dimensions. This led to things we use today like adjustable seats, foot pedals in cars, helmet straps, and adjustable flight suits. Just like the US Air Force realised there's no average person, we must also come to this realisation. In the early 2000s, the WHO revised their definition of disability. The point of this change was to define disability as a context-dependent rather than as an attribute of a person. This revision is pivotal to anyone designing interactions and products. It's not the use of the wheelchair that creates the disability, it's the lack of adequate building access for the diverse human ways get around. It's the mismatch in interactions that creates disability and excludes people. Let's take a little look at the packaging for the Xbox adaptive controller, which has been designed so that it's easy to access for all, including disabled gamers. Here you can see them pulling back the tabs, the lid lifts, handles are available to pull the product apart, and then you can access the accessories off to the side. Some of the greatest inventions of our time have come from humans adapting to overcome exclusion. Turi created a typewriter to communicate with his lover who was blind. Friedman modified a drinking straw for his young daughter so she could sit and drink at a table. Cerf designed email to communicate with his wife who was deaf. What if designing for 7.8 billion people started with designing for one person? And this is the point of inclusive design, a methodology born out of digital environments that enables and draws on the full range of human diversity. Most importantly, it means including and learning from people with a wide range of perspectives. Vanessa, you're going to talk to us about allyship and the challenge that you faced.
Yeah, look, allyship is something that's extremely important at Microsoft. And a great example of that is we started allyship training. And I personally was challenged by one of our people. You see, we had made a decision for our interns over the last couple of years that we would partner with Tupatoa and just bring in Māori and Pacifica interns. And I got challenged, how inclusive was that for others? Now, it was just that moment in time where sometimes you just feel like you're doing the right thing, but how about all the other groups? Accessibility, women, different cultures. And it just made me stop and think and challenge my own beliefs and thinking as we do every day in our product design and how we as a business move forward.
Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing the story. So at Microsoft, we work from 3 principles that guide our inclusive practice. First, we recognise that exclusion is designed, and when we're designing for ourselves, we exclude people with different abilities, preferences and ways of learning. We design disability and exclusion. Second, we learn from diversity by building empathy with our customers. This is the core of what we do, and it's the most impactful part of our work that sticks with us long after we've spent our time on focused learning about being inclusive. And third, we solve for one and extend to many through a persona spectrum. These 3 principles help derive inspiration from human adaptability, fuels creativity, and results in better products for everyone. I just want to now play a short explainer video which takes you through the inclusive design process end to end.
Class, we have to move beyond the standard way of doing things, beyond the obvious questions, the obvious answers. We must ask how to cross the road and answer how all of us can do it.
Like I was saying, stairs up to a bridge over the top. That way you just run right up and over. Easy. Problem solved.
I'm not a huge fan of stairs. Maybe 1 stair. Not 2. Definitely not 3. How about we dig a tunnel under the road so we can slide under?
Seems like kind of a tight fit. I don't think flying underground is a thing. How about we fly across a good old-fashioned crosswalk?
Fly?
Remember, class, we need to think inclusively. We want to design solutions not just for ourselves, but solutions that work for many individuals. Individuals in all kinds of situations.
Wait, isn't that a lot of extra work?
We're trying to be everything without being anything?
Inclusive design simply offers a more expansive perspective and approach to creating solutions. And when inclusive design is at the core, an experience can have mainstream appeal, like the captions you use to watch videos on your phone in class, and the flexible straws so you don't dribble juice all over my tablet, or the curb cuts that started for wheelchair usage and are now important for everyone, from cyclists to parents pushing strollers. And class, inclusive design is essential from mobility to education to technology. Microsoft is using inclusive design throughout the company to create products that empower individuals to achieve more, like the Xbox Adaptive Controller, so that everyone can game in the way that works best for them, or the Accessibility Checker that ensures digital content can be enjoyed by people who are blind, deaf, use wheelchairs, basically everyone. And they want to help others implement inclusive design too. So they've shared lots of training materials and even an inclusive design toolkit.
Short, feathery creature wearing glasses.
Hey, Mr. Chicken, thanks for this. What are you up to now?
Me? I don't know. Crossing?
But why?
Animations that explain.
In practice, this looks like a persona spectrum, thinking about a solution optimized for someone who experiences disability on a permanent basis may benefit many people. Think about captioning and subtitles were originally designed for the deaf and hard of hearing community. They work in a variety of different contexts. Take watching a rugby game at a busy, crowded bar. Many of you could relate to reading the captions of the commentator to understand what is necessarily happening. Many studies have shown that captions are useful in teaching children to read. We use the persona spectrum to understand related mismatches and motivations across the spectrum of permanent, temporary, and situational scenarios. In our design process to create the perfect editor, an intelligent writing assistant for Office 365, we included 12 months of user studies, including specific research with people with cognitive disabilities like dyslexia and screen readers. The insight gathered allowed us to introduce synonyms alongside suggestions for misspellings, an update that makes it easier for all to proofread their documents and create professional emails and documents that are error-free. The second example is the search bar called Tell Me. By studying how blind people navigate applications, we improved experiences for keyboard-only users. We made it possible for people to navigate a ribbon by typing intuitive commands at the top without having to remember too many keyboard shortcuts or tab through lots of controls. A common example of extending the benefits to more people, but in the physical environment, are curb ramps, something that was created to allow people in wheelchairs to navigate from the footpath to the street. But it also works for people pushing strollers, riding bicycles, anyone on wheels. We all experience exclusion. With increasing mobility of people and technology, we experience exclusion in more ways than ever. Design for 7.8 billion starts with designing for one. Identifying the barriers that exclude people, learning from the real experts in diversity, humans, and designing adaptable solutions which extends the benefits for more people is what inclusive design is about. Here I'm showing you the Seeing AI application. It's designed, and it was shown in the explainer video earlier, to identify people who may be low vision. You're able to photograph people for situational awareness, documents and currency and handwriting and more. The Microsoft Translator, which is included in products like PowerPoint, Teams, allows you to create live real-time captions and transcriptions during presentations. It supports up to 60 supported languages and can be used for audience who are deaf or hard of hearing. A feature that you might not be aware of for people who have limited mobility is the Windows eye control. Here you can actually control the cursor with your gaze and nothing else. So it's truly inspirational. The Read Aloud and Immersive Reader not only help people who have low vision, but actually has been shown to improve the reading of students and children. So this is incorporated in products such as OneNote, Word and Outlook, and there are plans to integrate them across Windows as well. Diversity can be used as a driver for innovation. According to an IDC Culture of Innovation report from August 2020, among global innovation leaders, 82% identified they have a multicultural, multi-generation and cross-industry workforce. Among New Zealand businesses, this figure was 63%, demonstrating that we have an opportunity in this area. Let me now introduce you to Humphrey, who's a gamer enthusiast, blogger, photographer, accessibility consultant. He connects with thousands of his followers through YouTube. He was also one of the world's first disabled gamers to assemble his own PC. He uses the Xbox One adaptive controller and Xbox Copilot. These devices provide the possibility for him to play a video game, many for the first time. Humphrey visited the Wellington office. He's based in Wellington with his dog Whiskey, and we can only imagine what they could do if they had a HoloLens. The second example I'd like to show you, and Vanessa touched on this in her introduction, was the world-building game Minecraft and the classroom edition, Minecraft Education. It's inspired millions of children over the world. Now young learners will benefit from Maori in block form with the Ngā Motu version called The Islands, which was commissioned to build on the life in a Maori pa, a village, and learn about language and culture.
Set your game mode to creative, so then you can choose a book, which is a series.
So we're going to be kind of creating different mobs.
We're going to basically recreate those dragons.
Aotearoa is New Zealand, and Aotearoa is where our Māori culture resides. All Indigenous cultures are wrapped up with many facets, and all of those things together are what make that Indigenous culture what it is. Te Reo Māori is a national language of New Zealand, along with sign language and English, and it's usually the starting point for a lot of people when learning about Te Ao Māori. My hometown, we were raised very much in Te Ao Māori. We had quite a bush upbringing, I suppose. It was more of an immersive experience. These things are just sort of things you know, and there's no real import to them. And then I had kids, and I realised I needed to sort of transmit some of this information, some of this cultural knowledge I had. Kaka, are you guys excited for today? The very first time we played Minecraft, I guess that was the first sort of inkling of the idea that games could be a good space for learning. So does everyone know what mobs are? And the opportunity we saw was to create another immersive world. Only this time it wasn't the Minecraftian universe, it was the Māori universe.
We use the New Zealand curriculum. It's based primarily on the concept of building learning power and the principles around the Treaty of Waitangi. It makes us a little bit different from the rest of the world. It empowers our Māori students because it recognises the unique place of Te Ao Māori here in New Zealand. And as Kiwis, here at Newlands, we take that really, really seriously.
Our parent community has been really supportive of their kids learning in this way, and they understand and see the fact that Collaboration and negotiation are an important part of life.
I didn't fully realise what the kids are capable of doing, how much learning they could do, and where it could actually lead to as well. You know, this is only the start of many opportunities and avenues for the kids in the future.
Really just unleash your creativity and your imagination.
In my class, their focus is, can you create your own knowledge? Can you make your own plan and see it through? And can you get yourself unstuck?
This is our world. There's a couple of things you might notice straight off the bat. Seeing teachers see their students get inspired and then them getting inspired by something like a computer game. That's pretty cool. Check that you've got that comma down there, right?
We had to do a mashup, so we put two worlds together. Like, we could take something from the real world and put it into Minecraft, or take something from Minecraft and put it into the real world.
My group made a working cinema. We even managed to make an underground system of tunnels.
Normally in school it's like, here's this, do this, off you go. But now it's like, blank schedule, Minecraft, yes please.
Well, we fully expect you guys to either add or augment the... When Microsoft contacted us, asking us if we'd like to develop something in Te Ao Māori for Minecraft Education Edition, what we saw was extremely exciting.
We are so excited that it is now available to every school student in New Zealand.
Minecraft is a universal language. There is barely a kid in New Zealand who hasn't heard of Minecraft. Kids love it. They absolutely adore it. We love it as teachers because of the collaborative opportunity it affords.
How did you guys manage?
Whetu's an innovator. He's seen the potential to use mahi maina to open Te Ao Māori to the rest of the world, changing our world here in Aotearoa, where Te Ao Māori is acknowledged.
So you gotta take a risk and a chance.
It's a safe place to make mistakes, and these kids need that. And they will make that mistake. There will be griefing. There will be arguments. There will be turf wars. It's important to give them that space because with that conflict, you also give them the space to work it out.
Things on the outside of that space. I think under all this talk that we're doing, we're talking about, games and learning like they're two, really separate things. And I think one of the big philosophies that underpins a lot of Indigenous cultures, especially ones that are based around oral history, that things like games and learning are not two different worlds, they're the same thing. And so something like Minecraft, it isn't just a game, or you don't go in it just to learn, they're one and the same thing, right? So you engage with Minecraft, you're naturally learning. It's just one big learning platform.
It's nice to have your own freedom, and there isn't a teacher to tell you what to do and what not to do.
We can't expect them to develop digital citizenship, to be responsible online, kind online, if we're not in those spaces where they can practice.
So I also changed one more block to look like a banana.
That's really empowering, I think, for tamariki, for kids. It's really empowering to give them a space where they can really be who they want to be.
Ko te manu e kai ana te miro, nona te ngahere, ko te manu e kai ana I te mātauranga nona te ao. The bird that eats of the miro berry owns the forest, but the bird that eats of knowledge owns the world. What Whetu has done has given everybody the opportunity to have an insight. I don't think it's just only for our kids, I think it's for everybody. It's to enlighten. The potential is endless.
So how do you get started with inclusive design? I'd like to walk you through the resources at aka.ms Inclusive Design. The website covers 3 principles that we've spoken about today. It provides 2 toolkits, including Inclusive 101 and a set of activities that are designed for people with a range of abilities and experiences. We have booklets on inclusive AI to reduce bias and remove bias, as well as we present a number of inspirational films that talk about empathy and some of the inclusive design processes, including work that we've done within Xbox Studios. Looking a little bit deeper, the toolkit was released in 2016 after a year and a half of testing internally and working with universities and partners around the world. It includes a 101 and these activity cards, and they focus on areas such as inclusive AI, design guidance, and respecting focus and empathy. So the resources, as I said, are built for people with a wide range of abilities to be able to use them. So I'd like to bring Vanessa back on stage to tell us about the Microsoft Include event, which is on today.
Thanks, Peter, and thank you, Spark Labs, for inviting us here today to share the story about what Microsoft's doing around inclusive design, and more importantly, what we're doing here in Aotearoa. We're so fortunate we're actually doing an event today, which you can now download digitally. So I encourage all of you to go to the site and watch what we are doing. Get involved. What are you going to change? For us, it is designing for one, to ensure that all is included. So I hope today has encouraged you to think differently. Kia ora and thank you.
Kia ora.
Vanessa and Peter, thank you so much for sharing as you did this morning. I can only imagine with businesses all around New Zealand working on that very topic this morning, that they found that as inspiring and as practically helpful as I did. And for all of you that are watching, please don't forget to go to sparklab.co.nz. That's a place you can not only give us feedback, but you can also find out what's coming up next. So once again, on behalf of everyone in the Spark Lab team, our sincere thanks, morena.